So in the spirit of Christmas, I thought it would be fitting for us to finally complete the holy trinity of the modern anti-SJWs, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. TheQuartering kinda started this whole branch of anti-woke content, and Geeks and Gamers is possibly the most rabid of the bunch. However, a channel that I don't see get mentioned nearly as much, but whose audience is still quite massive and very much the same as these other two, is Nerdrotic, aka Gary. So when you look at Gary's channel, you'll see that it looks extremely similar to all the rest of the anti-SJWs, because their content is very much the same. You have the clickbaity and over-the-top thumbnails, they use the same articles, but one thing that Nerdrotic does differently than the rest is that he's actually very into identity politics, especially feminism. I mean, he puts women into so many of his thumbnails that I just assume that he's a feminist, which is really cool, Gary. You earned yourself some points in my books. Now this is obviously a joke because Nerdrotic doesn't like anything progressive. For example, if a black woman is in a James Bond movie, then that movie is ruined and not worth his time. Because we cannot let the wokeness win, even if it might be a good movie. Seriously, a movie doesn't even have to have anything particularly progressive for him to label it as woke, which in turn affects the way his audience views these movies, often not even giving them a chance. Anyways, I think my argument on the nature of Nerdrotic's videos would be better laid out with an example, so let's take a quick look at this video titled, "A Gay Superman, DC Comics Saves the Comic Book Industry." Yes, it is as bad as it sounds. Anyways, I won't show you too much from the video, but let's first just listen to the intro to get a sense for what he's like.
Superman comes out as DC Comics ushers in a new Man of Steel. The new Superman, the son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, is concerned about the environment, does not shy away from politics, and will soon begin a romantic relationship with a male friend. Jonathan Kent, the new Superman, who is the son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, shares an unexpected kiss with his friend Jay. Up, and out of the closet. Oh, says George Gene Gustins. The new Superman, Jonathan Kent, who is the son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, because they need to tell us things 5 times before we get into the actual article to pad their words, will soon begin a romantic relationship with a male friend, DC Comics announced Monday, and will soon start vigorously ass-pounding Jay with his super penis.
The thing I love about these channels is how they say so much without actually saying anything at all. Like, they so rarely give actual reasons as to why this is a bad thing. He just reads the article with a mocking voice and makes jokes about it. And I know they like to say that the whole woke agendas and politics are bad in movies if they take away from the story. He even says this later on in the video. But to say this, you actually need to prove how it actually takes away from the story. You can't just say, "Oh god, look at the state of comic books. Superman is gay now. Everything is ruined." You need to explain why this is a bad thing for the stories, because if you don't, then you just come off as homophobic. And that might not be the case. I don't know you. But also, there's no consistency whatsoever in which politics they call woke and which they don't. Because they always say that, oh, progressive politics in movies is fine as long as it's incorporated into the story in the right way, but they never actually analyze the movies when they say this shit and point out the actual faults. Listen, I have my problems with The Critical Drinker, but at least he actually tries to critique the movies most of the time. But Nerdrotic and his crew don't. They see that a new version of Superman is now gay, and that's all the incentive they need to go and make a video calling this a massacre of Superman's character. He has no idea whether or not this gay relationship makes sense within the story. No fucking clue, because he doesn't read the comic books. He just makes a lot of money by complaining about them.
So we only need to be fair here, okay? The same-sex relationship, be careful there. Sex is a construct. It's a construct.
Oh, I see what you did there, Gary. You tried to catch out those leftists for being hypocrites. Except all you did was show how uneducated on the topic of sex and gender you really are. Yes, technically, both the word gender and sex are social constructs, in that they're words we have created and that they only have meaning because we gave them meaning through social processes. However, if you've ever talked to any competent person who advocates for gender-related rights such as transgender rights, every single one of them will agree that there are biological differences between people. Some people are born with penises, some are born with vaginas, some people are born with neither, and some are born with both. The topic isn't about whether or not sex exists, it's that gender is a social construct that we have made, and trying to put biology into the conversation is utterly irrelevant in a lot of cases. But anyways, that's a long-ass discussion for another day, because I like to be able to properly prepare a discussion about a complicated topic like sex and gender with, research to back it up, not these random gotcha retorts that will have your audience creaming themselves because of how you owned this one person.
It's just one of the ways that Jonathan Kent, who goes by John, is proving to be different Superman than his famous father. Since his new series, Superman, Son of Kal-El, and Gay Superman, began in July, John has combated wildfires caused by climate change. I want to punch my screen. I want to punch this guy in the face. I want to punch this guy in his fucking dumb face.
I love when these channels get upset because of a comic book series being progressive, since comic books in general have always portrayed progressive messages, way before it was cool or even the norm to be socially aware. For example, Wonder Woman came out as a pushback against the overly masculine state of superhero comics, but these people fucking love Wonder Woman. Black Panther first appeared back in 1966 during the time of the civil rights movements, and even fought against members of the KKK. You know who else fought against the KKK? That's right, Superman. Comic books have always dealt with the social problems of their specific time periods, so to call out comic books for having progressive themes or concepts now makes no fucking sense. I don't even think these people read comics. It's just a fucking grift. Anyways, the rest of this video is pretty much just more bullshit from him, being mad that gay superheroes are being portrayed more nowadays. And he tries to blame his anger at this on the idea that all of this is being forced down our throats, but we all know that he just couldn't give a shit. But yes, I hope that gave you a good image of what kind of content this guy makes, because just like the rest of these anti-SJWs, all they do is complain about anything progressive in geek culture, and they make a lot of money by stroking the egos of the people who watch this crap. And when I say ego, I mean dick. Moving on, Nerdrotic has this show on his channel called Friday Night Tights, which is basically just live streams where him and a bunch of other people talk about various topics. It's quite normal stuff, and the reason I called him the Holy Spirit before is because he's the presence that binds the other aspects together. In this case, he's bringing all the other anti-SJWs together into the most testosterone-heavy Zoom calls I have ever witnessed. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple months ago, Alex Jones appeared on Friday Night Tights, and if you don't know who Alex Jones is, then he's basically the world's most popular conspiracy theorist, but not in the good way. Alex Jones is probably the most infamous bullshitter since the church back in the Middle Ages. Obviously, that's hyperbole, don't take that statement too seriously, please. But essentially, Alex Jones is a very renowned radio show host who indulges in a lot of conspiracy theories, and not the fun kind like the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, theories that are most likely fake, but are still fun and intriguing, and most importantly, don't really hurt other people. Instead, Alex Jones has spread lies like, for example, the government is putting chemicals in water which are turning people gay.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap.
More recently, he lost a legal case of defamation because of his continuous spreading of the conspiracy theory that the Sandy Hook school shooting, in which 26 people, including 20 kids, were murdered, that it was staged and actually didn't happen.
The whole thing was fake. I mean, even I couldn't believe it. I knew they jumped on it, used the crisis, hyped it up, but then I did deep research, and my gosh, it just pretty much didn't happen.
Which has obviously hurt the many people affected by this tragedy. He instantly lost the case because he didn't want to hand over evidence for his claims because, well, he didn't have any. Whether or not you believe that he has the right to say whatever he wants, you absolutely can't deny that he's a completely disingenuous and hateful person who doesn't care about the ramifications his actions can have. This is the kind of person that Nerdrotic and all these other goobers brought on their show and gave a platform to. Now, there's nothing to suggest that Nerdrotic and his crew are bad people just for having Alex Jones on. It could just be for entertainment and for growing their audience. I don't know everything they talked about. I didn't watch much of the stream because it's 5 hours long, and it all could be a joke. However, one thing that I believe becomes quite clear is that by having Alex Jones on their show in the first place, allowing him to keep spreading misinformation and giving him a platform, they're basically taking the stance that they're okay with what he stands for. That hateful and unsupported conspiracy theories that can seriously hurt other people are okay for their show, their image, and who they want to associate with. I think it's really telling about who Nerdrotic is as a creator that he not only brings Alex Jones on his show, but also that he's a long-time fan of his. I think it becomes very clear to see that these people don't care about the truth or the consequences of their actions. They just care about profit, but we knew that already. Now, I don't want to end the video with the natural force of catastrophe that is Alex Jones. Instead, I want to quickly mention Nerdrotic's skills as a movie reviewer, specifically his review of Shang-Chi. Now, Nerdrotic was one of those YouTubers who got called out, if you can even call it that, by simu for spreading hate towards Shang-Chi before it even came out and predicting it to flop, which as we know didn't happen, and simu memed on all of them. However, I feel like Nerdrotic was biased from the start, which is never a good mindset to have going in to see a movie that you're going to review on your YouTube channel. The review is just not very good, and he naturally spends a good portion of it talking about wokeness and how the feminist women of the movie beat up all the men.
Turns out this fight club is run by Shang-Chi's sister. Oh, and it gets so much better. They turned the MCU up to 11. Remember when I said Shang-Chi was trained by the Mandarin and Death Dealer and the best of the best the Ten Rings organization had to offer, and they wouldn't train his sister? That's okay. She trained herself in the shadows, a superhuman form of Kung Fu that is far superior to Shang-Chi's. She actually fights him in this fight club and beats him, and of course, kicks him in the balls.
It's actually hilarious how upset these people get over women being good at fighting in newer movies. And I say newer movies because back in the beginning of the MCU, no one cared that Black Widow was a badass and beat up tons of men because she wore a tight suit. But then of course she became woke. Also, he fully just doesn't understand the movie. He omits the fact that Shang-Chi wasn't trying to win against his sister but was rather trying to talk her down. Now of course admitting this would go against his argument that the sister is just powerful because of me, she, you, which is something he loves to mention, whatever the fuck that means. He also criticizes Shang-Chi and Katie for not being a good couple, but he says that he would buy it if they were just buddies.
There wasn't really any chemistry between Shang-Chi and Marvel's Katie as far as being lovers is concerned, because I don't buy that for a second. I could buy them as buddies.
The fucking irony. This guy just isn't good at critiquing movies, and I strongly disagree with his review of Shang-Chi, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. A difference in opinion. We could do an in-depth analysis of one of his movie reviews if you guys want. But yes, the most important points I talked about today are definitely his thoughts on gay Superman and the Alex Jones debacle. But anyways, that's all I had for today. As always, if you agree or disagree, then be sure to let me know down in the comments. Also, be sure to leave me suggestions for people or videos that you want me to cover next, and please leave a reason why I should talk about them, as it makes my job a lot simpler. Other than that, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or a dislike. Either one helps out a lot. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe and peace out.